Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 20 Michael Jackson songs. For this list, we're ranking the most enduring and memorable jams from the King of Pop. What's your favorite MJ song? Let us know in the comments. If you like what you're hearing, be sure to check out the full song at the link below. Number 20, The Way You Make Me Feel. This list is going to be a bit different than many other music videos we've done in the fact that you're probably going to know all of these songs. Such was the transcendent power of Michael Jackson's music, as well as the crossover power of nearly all his singles. The Way You Make Me Feel was the third single off of MJ's Bad album, and grooves with a synth-heavy mid-pace, while Jackson's vocals are firmly in command. In fact, Michael's background work in the studio creates a nice vocal orchestra that lends The Way You Make Me Feel a certain level of size and volume. It's just a warm and welcoming way to kick off our list of Michael Jackson classics. Number 19, We Are Here to Change the World. Okay, so maybe we cheated a little bit with our lead in the last entry when we said there weren't going to be any obscurities on this list. That's because We Are Here to Change the World is perhaps the closest our top 20 comes to a deep cut, because this track was featured in the short film MJ did to accompany the Captain EO ride at Disney theme parks. Captain EO was a glorious and imaginative excuse for Jackson to indulge his biggest Star Wars fantasies alongside writer George Lucas and director Francis Ford Coppola. The song and its accompanying tune, Another Part of Me, tap into the same visual vibe as Thriller, only here presented as a wildly fun science fiction synth-pop romp. Number 18, Human Nature. Michael Jackson's Thriller album was in no shortage of singles, today being largely remembered for its upbeat and universally appealing pop vibe. Human Nature was a touching and tender ballad on that record, one that wouldn't sound out of place on one of MJ's earlier efforts or even from the Jackson 5. The demo version of the song was actually written by Steve Porcaro of the rock band Toto and benefits greatly from its keen sense of melody. Human Nature didn't change too much from its compositional stage, with Jackson adding in his own vocal flavor to what was already a tender and beautiful track.
They say that is human nature, right?
Number 17, Speed Demon. Speed Demon was one of Michael Jackson's more aggressive-sounding tracks, one that thrives on MJ's enthusiastic vocal performance. Honestly, wouldn't sound out of place on a Prince or Rick James album from the same period, thanks to copious amounts of slap bass and synth.
I'm headed for the border. It's on my mind. And nothing really matters.
Speed Demon was featured on both Jackson's Bad album, as well as the semi-animated anthology film Moonwalker. The version featured on the latter actually featured Jackson and a claymation rabbit dueling in a dance-off, which is just as wild as it sounds. The song itself is fast-paced and fun, and showcased Jackson's own writing chops when it came to kicking out single jams. Number 16, PYT, Pretty Young Thing. We've mentioned the role of synthesizers within Michael Jackson's music a lot thus far, but that is in no way a slight. These instruments were very important to the pop music landscape of the 70s and 80s, and they provide a great little melodic hook to our next song, PYT, also known as Pretty Young Thing. It hits right after MJ sings the title and burrows itself into your brain forever. Jackson's vocal is also light and breezy, seemingly having fun with this upbeat, funky pop track. PYT is a quick in and out at just around 4 minutes, but definitely bears repeated plays as something of an underrated Jackson jam. Number 15, Wanna Be Startin' Something. The song that opens up Michael Jackson's Thriller practically screams 1982, and we are here for it. From that syncopated drum machine and bass to Jackson's in-charge vocals, this one just builds and builds to a fever pitch of awesomeness. Wanna Be Startin' Something wouldn't sound out of place on one of Michael Jackson's older albums, with the song's finale directly adapting Manu Dibango's classic disco funk jam Sol Makossa to a newer generation. It all works too, and has endured to this day as an all-time Michael Jackson song from an all-time Michael Jackson album. Number 14, Earth Song. It's time to shift gears a little bit and break from the 80s for our next pick. The music of Michael Jackson was definitely not limited to a single decade, but instead possesses that timeless and multi-generational appeal.
What about all the things that you said we were to gain?
Earth Song fits that description perfectly, having been released in 1995 on Jackson's 9th album, History, Past, Present, and Future, Book 1, and offering proof that the man was still very much in his prime during this era. There's an operatic sense of grandeur to Earth Song that lends it weight and heft, while simultaneously showcasing perhaps the most technically impressive vocal performance from Jackson in a long time. Simply stated, MJ goes for it on Earth Song, and we, the fans, are all the better for it. Number 13, Rock With You. We mentioned earlier how much of Michael Jackson's early solo career was influenced by disco, just as much as the soulful grooves that defined his work with the Jackson 5.
Don't try to fight it, there ain't nothing that you can do.
Rock With You came from Jackson's breakthrough Off the Wall album, and is very much cut from this post-soul late 70s disco mold. And that is definitely a good thing. The grooves are immediately danceable, yet never overstay their welcome.
I wanna rock with you all night. Dance you.
Instead, Rock With You very much follows the prototypical pop song formula, barely lasting 3 minutes, but burning up the dance floor nonetheless. Number 12, Man in the Mirror. Just as soul, disco, and R&B thrived during the 1960s and 70s, so too did traditional gospel music embrace commercial appeal and become increasingly funky during these decades. That feeling of religious, gospel-influenced sentiment is palpable on Michael Jackson's Man in the Mirror, a smash hit from MJ's 1987 album Bad.
See the kids in the street with not enough to eat.
The lyrics are inspirational and can be applied to just about anyone, which definitely helps Man in the Mirror strike a chord with fans around the world. There's no gimmick or needless polish on display, and Man in the Mirror, as a result, feels refreshingly bare and confessional.
I'm starting with the man in the mirror.
Number 11, Ben. Michael Jackson's affection for horror and science fiction films has been well documented. But one of the man's early hits was actually a soundtrack from a classic 70s horror shocker, Ben. The film was a sequel to the cult hit Willard, and holds the esteemed position as being the only Michael Jackson song about a killer rat that can make you cry.
You, my friend, will see. You got a friend in me.
Ben benefits from having esteemed lyricist Don Black at the helm, while the young Jackson's fragile emotional performance hits home and the heartstrings in a big way. Seriously, try and listen to this one without turning on the waterworks. We dare you.
Think again if they had been like this.
Number 10, Dirty Diana. This one is slinky, sexy, and perhaps just a little bit sleazy, and we love it.
I was too blind to see that you seduce every man. This time you won't seduce me.
Dirty Diana practically crawls across the floor with an irresistibly hot groove. A rock jam that even features Billy Idol axeman Steve Stevens ripping out some tasty licks. Meanwhile, MJ's vocal is impassioned, indignant, and practically on the verge of tears as he tells the tale of a woman backstage who seeks out musicians with prestige. We honestly don't know why this absolutely killer Jackson jam isn't discussed a bit more, but we have no problem laying it smack dab in the middle of our top 20. Number 9, Black or White. For those of you who weren't around back during the halcyon days of music videos, just take our word for it when we say that a fresh Michael Jackson clip debuting on television was a big deal.
I believe in miracles, and a miracle is happening tonight.
And occasionally controversial too, since the video for Black or White was criticized and edited after its initial release, due to a coda section where MJ turns into a panther and smashes a bunch of cars. It may seem tame now, but it did elevate the hype behind Black or White, which was the first single from Jackson's Dangerous album.
Being my brother, it don't matter if you're black or white.
This was an MJ for the 90s, complete with a fresh new attitude. Number 8, Leave Me Alone. How difficult is it to believe that one of the best songs off of Michael Jackson's Bad album was initially omitted from the vinyl and cassette versions in the US and Canada?
I don't care what you talking about, baby. I don't care what you.
Thankfully, Leave Me Alone served as the closing track on the CD and on later editions of Bad, with a profile that was boosted with a cool satirical video clip. The song plays on the persistent rumors and news articles about Jackson from the press, and MJ's vocal is large and in charge, delivering on his defiance. Leave Me Alone is funky and fun, but with a definite message and fire that are infectious. Number 7, Remember the Time. We're back to the 90s and back again to the age of the music video as cinema. Oh, sure, there are artists today, like Lady Gaga comes to mind, that utilize the music video medium as a venue to express themselves in a cinematic way. It could be argued, however, that Michael Jackson absolutely perfected this art form.
I'm bored. I want to be entertained. Can my pharaoh find some way to entertain his queen?
Remember the Time piggybacked off earlier large-scale themes a la Smooth Criminal or Thriller with a tale set in ancient Egypt, while the music grooves with feels similar to the New Jack Swing style that was popular at the time. MJ does some unique ad-libbing and vocalizing on the track too, but we defy anyone to listen to Remember the Time and not imagine Eddie Murphy and Iman. Number 6, Don't Stop Till You Get Enough. Michael Jackson had tons of success prior to the release of Off the Wall in 1979, but it was this fifth solo album that seemed to signify a shift, a sort of coming out party for MJ as a solo artist, firmly in control of his future destiny. Don't Stop Till You Get Enough was written by Jackson and is very much an all-time disco jam, the sort of barn burner that gets feet moving and bodies shaking. We're sure there was absolutely no room on the dance floor when Don't Stop Till You Get Enough first got into the hands of DJs, and it is a song that still packs them in today. Who said disco was dead? Number 5, Smooth Criminal. The legend of Michael Jackson is larger than life and will endure forever. But it seems as if Jackson's songs themselves even possess this power to transcend themselves. Such is the case of Smooth Criminal and its widescreen cinematic greatness. It's difficult to separate the recorded version's hard-edged 80s funk style from the accompanying video, dance moves, and fresh duds. Can one exist without the other? We definitely say yes, because Smooth Criminal would be an all-time killer even without the iconic video. Jackson's songwriting is impeccable here. The melodies and arrangements elicit goosebumps. What can we say? It's a perfect storm. Number 4, Bad. The working relationship between Michael Jackson and music industry legend Quincy Jones was well documented as a recipe for success by the time Bad was released in 1987. MJ was seeking something new for both his image and musical direction, and it was this album that signified the end of their working relationship. as a result. Bad, both the album and the song, possess more of an edge and less of the classic soul and funk elements that defined earlier releases. Oh, Bad is still funky as hell, make no mistake, but the arrangement incorporates more of a rock vibe while remaining quintessential Michael Jackson through and through. And we'll tell you once again, this song rules. Number 3, Thriller. Spoiler alert, our top 3 picks are all taken from the same album, and we think you all know full well which one. Thriller was a cultural milestone that may never be replicated, an album and song that was magnetic and captivated millions of people around the world.
It's close to midnight, something evil's lurking in the dark.
Was it an example of the power of music videos? Sure, but there's also the power of how well Thriller was composed by disco keyboardist and songwriter Rod Temperton. The song is Jackson's tribute and ode to horror cinema, and features Hollywood icon Vincent Price delivering that classic closing narration.
Falls across the land. The midnight hour is close at hand.
Thriller isn't just for Halloween. We celebrate this bad boy year-round. Number 2. Beat It. Michael Jackson was the universal solvent, bringing together seemingly disparate elements to create a sound all his own. Beat It was the crossover smash delivered by Jackson to his fans before they knew they wanted it. A truly inspired example of MJ and Quincy Jones reading the proverbial room.
The fire's in their eyes, their words are really clear, so beat it, just beat it.
Gloomy, ominous synths sound the charge. Eddie Van Halen's guitar wails for all it's worth during the solo, while Jackson swings for the fences and knocks it out of the damn park. Beat It distills so much songwriting perfection into a scant 4 minutes that we can barely believe we humans were worthy enough to receive such greatness. Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1. Billie Jean. You know it, you love it, you can sing the entire thing right from the opening drum beat and bass line. It's Billie Jean, and it's the best Michael Jackson song of all time.
He was more like a beauty queen from a movie scene. I said don't mind, but what do you mean?
This is because there's so much going on to the composition of the song. So much that comes down to not only Jackson as the songwriter, but all of the studio musicians and producers that made it possible.
Just a girl who claims that I am the one.
Layers of guitar, strings, synth, and more go into the sonic stew, while the mix is textured to the point where the audio tape should be framed and hung in a museum. Billie Jean is a fine example of everything coming together in a way that created magic. A song that will truly live forever. Do you agree with our picks? Let us know in the comments. And hey, if you're a fan of the song playing right now, be sure to check out the music video for it right here.